to express some concerns and opposition to the current bill before us, the Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Bill. But before I get into it, some of the highlights of our opposition. I've been through this process before last year as chairman of this subcommittee, so I truly understand and am aware of the hard work that Mr. Quigley and his team have put into this bill, and commend them for navigating the process that's not easy and making it to this point that we are here today. Now, while I don't support every piece of this bill, I certainly value the approach that Chairman Quigley took and the strong working relationship that he and I have both had over the years and continue to have. The bill we're addressing includes a few key priorities that have been really important to Republican colleagues, my Republican colleagues and myself. And we appreciate that and look forward to supporting those in the future. And it does strike a bit, I'd say, a bit of a bipartisan tone in a way that I know that we all appreciate and our constituents value the most. And quite frankly, we could use a little bit more of that around here, and I know you would agree with that, Mr. Chairman. Now, while this is a really good starting point, and that's how I'll characterize where we are today, we're at a starting point, a small foundation that we can build from. The bill as drafted is just not something I can support at this time, nor my Republican colleagues. But I'd like to highlight some of the areas that I think we need to work on. First and foremost, if we were to have a budget agreement, and that's a big if, because there's a lot of discussion about budget agreements, but there's certainly not been any movement, and it's probably one of the bigger challenges that the new majority has, and that's navigating the budget process, seeing how there hasn't been a budget even passed out of committee. This bill will continue the spending that our nation's seen at a skyrocketing fashion, one that we just don't need to accept. The total level of discretionary spending under this bill increases by 8% over last year. That is a significant number. Last year, when I was chair, we were proposing cutting this bill by 5%. And this year, we're 13 points different, going up 8%, which is nearly a $2 billion increase. Secondly, this bill blocks the administration from doing what they are so focused on right now, and that is securing this nation and our country, particularly at the southern border. I'm sure we'll hear later this week if the new majority gets the votes to bring a bill to the floor about a border supplemental, you have to ask yourself, why do we even need that supplemental? We had an opportunity earlier this year with the conference committee report to provide the funds the administration requested. And yet the new majority rejected that then and now comes forward with a supplemental, but while at the same time, ironically, obstructing the spending from the administration currently from spending funds to secure the border through this bill. So it's the irony of the failure of the conference committee report, the inability to get a supplemental to the floor for vote this week, but yet refusing to allow the administration to secure the border through this bill in addition. So it is ironic, and that's something we certainly would like to see restored. But also, this would remove any oversight and accountability that this body has over the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not like a city in any of our states. It is a district. It is a different entity under a different charter, of which the greatest nation on the planet's capital exists. And I believe we should continue that oversight, but yet this gives the District of Columbia a blank checkbook here. And then next, I would say, we've talked about bipartisanship. This bill does omit some longstanding bipartisan provisions that we have always agreed on, and I'm not sure why we would object to them today, or why the new majority would object to them today. But one in particular is to allow taxpayer funding for the ending of the lives of the innocent unborn. Mr. Chairman, I don't know why we would go there today when year after year after year, Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate, have always come together and said those lives are precious and we should protect them from the use of taxpayer funds being used to eliminate their life. And then I'm concerned that the bill written, as it's currently written, would force schools to withdraw from the Opportunity Scholarship Program. One of the great successes this body has enjoyed over the years is celebrating in the success of children of the District of Columbia benefiting from a scholarship program to see their lives improved and enriched and move on into a better future. In fact, the scholarship program has a great record of success, with 98% of all of the 12th grade students participating are graduating. A 98% graduation rate. 86% of them are accepted to a 2- or 4-year college after graduation. We should not be making it harder for these schools to operate. We shouldn't be making it harder for kids to be able to enjoy this opportunity. In fact, quite frankly, it's just an assault on the low-income children right here in the District of Columbia. It's also disappointing that this bill drops a long-standing prohibition against requiring contractors to disclose campaign contributions as a part of a federal procurement process. This process should be about getting the best service by the best company for the best price for the American people, to best assist our constituents. Instead, now, if the provision as it is stated in this bill continues, we might be creating a new higher bidder scenario in which it's the highest bidder of political contributions going to a company might get the bid instead of something different, such as the best price with the best company with the best service. Now, we all know that these are poison pills that members of both sides shouldn't be forced to swallow here today. And as long as this bill is fashioned in this manner, Mr. Chairman, we know that it's not going to be signed into law. Just yesterday, President Trump said that if this bill were on his desk in this current form, he would veto this legislation. So I know we're going to have a robust debate today, and maybe we can improve upon this foundation. But with the federal debt exceeding $22 trillion, we just can't afford to spend more. We don't need to spend more on general governmental activities. Just because we can spend it doesn't mean we should, nor should we spend it at any time in the future when we have the opportunity to cut, and instead, today here we are spending more. So it's up to us. Let's set the example, Mr. Chairman. Let's leave this country's pocketbook in better shape for our kids and our grandkids. And as I close, I do want to finish on a positive note because we do have a great working relationship. I want to thank Chairman Quigley. I want to thank his team. They've addressed some of the priorities that are important to us, and they have crafted a small foundation, which I know we can all work from in the days ahead. And with that, I'll reserve the balance of my time.
Thank you. Gentleman from Georgia reserves. Chair recognized. Gentleman from Illinois.